Good morning and welcome. My name's Linda. I'm your trauma recovery coach. If you're here and we're live, be sure to say hi and let me know where you're from. And if you're here for the replay, do a hashtag replay down below. And if you have any questions or comments, always feel free to ask. This morning I want to talk to you about identifying our deeper need for our need to work out what our deeper emotions are and what's happening. With complex PTSD, the emphasis is on the complex because it's never easy to just go pull a solution off the shelf. It's just not going to happen for us because we need to treat it individually. So when the trauma happens and the overwhelm happens, we haven't filed everything away nice and neat. Not only that, our amygdala, our emotional centre, is the forefront of where we process everything. It's not our logic. So when something comes along in our day-to-day life and we need a solution, we actually go straight to our amygdala, to the emotional centre. And it can be challenging to get back into the logical centre. I know from years of self-observation that if I'm tired, there's a whole hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Specifically for me, tiredness, I'll be into the emotional part of my brain. So my thoughts and everything are highly emotional and can become irrational, as in I'm aware that I can't get into the logical. However, as we go through the recovery process, we can also become aware that there are deeper emotional needs that need to be addressed. Okay, so I want to talk to you briefly about it today. I don't want to keep you, super long. So, what is it, and why does it happen? All right, remember, we're like an onion. It's like layer upon layer upon layer, okay? Actually, there was an ad about that, wasn't there? Sarah Lee, layer upon layer, maybe? Anyhow, as we adult and, we're still carrying around, say, the inner child who is wounded, if you haven't done inner child work, then think about it from this perspective. We have wounds, all right, that are unaddressed because we weren't equipped as children to know how to deal with them, understand them, put language around them, etc., etc. And it happens, so this need to recognise what's happening for ourselves on a deeper emotional level happens because we've reached a stage in our life, in our recovery, when we've got the courage, the strength, the information to actually sit down and connect with either your therapist or your coach and trauma coach and work through exactly what's happening. Now, it's not on a logical level, all right? I often acquaint it, that's not the word I'm looking for. I often use it in the sense that all the years of overwhelm that happened, it's like bubbles of air are on the inside of me, and as I build an awareness around what's happening for me in my day-to-day life now, so don't ever go back to the trauma, you don't need to. When I build an awareness of what's happening in my day-to-day life, I can sit there and I use breathing to go within and recognise what's stopping me from moving forward, all right? Now, some of the things that we'll need along the way is an understanding of reparenting. I've done a video on that. So how we can reparent ourselves, the areas where we need to learn to reparent ourselves. And that's not our fault. We can be full-on adulting in our day-to-day life. So, I can be running around being mum, etc., etc. But when it comes to myself, I need to reparent myself, which means that I need to seek out information, all right? So at this time in my life, what I'm doing is becoming aware that as business grows, I don't have all the information I need on a financial step-by-step basis. But what I'm aware of is that as everything grows, I can learn. Okay, so as you come across another layer, there is nothing you can't learn, all right? And especially language around what's happening in these deeper emotional needs areas, all right? Build an awareness around your thoughts, your emotions, limits, beliefs. And also, I've found especially my physical body is a great indicator when one of these bubbles of are coming up me in order that I can put everything in my amygdala and the emotional center in an order, okay? Sorry, I just went straight off track. What happens in my physical body is all of a sudden I start to become unwell. So the last few weeks I've been fighting this never-ending flu, which wouldn't morph into a full flu, but it had me bedridden for a couple of days. I wasn't able to focus on my work. I wasn't able to do all the things that I normally do. And so when I recognise this is happening, I sit back and I go, okay, what's going on? What do I need to recognise? Sit and do some breathing and feel if there's a bubble there, or tightness even. So as you do your breathing, you become aware of where it's stuck in your body. So for me this time it was stuck right in the middle of my chest area. And as I went into feeling it, I could feel that there were unshed tears inside of me. I went, okay, there's unshed tears. And then I would go ask myself questions around that until eventually I had to sit down and reach out and connect with somebody. And then I went, oh, now I know what's going on. And there were a couple of layers to it. When we identify what's going on for us, then it makes it easier to take action and change the experience and put all the education into place, the words, put order into place. So think of it this way too. Our prefrontal cortex is the area of cognitive function, so the logic, and when we've got logic, we'll put everything in an order so that everything makes sense. It builds a deeper understanding in ourselves so that next time we hit the pattern of, okay, I'm holding on to something tight inside of me and my physical health is going downhill, we then go, okay, I need to sit down and do some work around this. So as you build an increasing awareness that, something's stopping you forward, what can you do? I want you to go and sit with your trusted therapist or a trauma coach and process what's happening for you, because it's coming up, all right? And it can feel overwhelming. It can feel very much fear-filled because it's an unknown quantity, okay? And what I've begun to become aware of is that my brain gets triggered in this really subtle way. So normally when we talk about triggers, we think about, okay, if I get triggered, then I'm in a state of anxiety. Okay, so I forget where I was the other day, and I became aware that my brain had been triggered into a state of anxiety because all of a sudden I've got perspiration coming to, and I'm like, why am I hot? Why is there perspiration? I went, oh, well, whatever it is, my brain's been triggered. Go and check out the video on how your brain can just get triggered and you don't even know what it is. And it'll explain a lot. So I went, okay, I've been triggered. So I stood there and I'm like, okay, I am safe. I'm looking around, I am safe. And breathing and really, I am safe. So we want to get to the root cause of the emotion, because when it comes up, everything then makes sense. So remember, we don't do logic and then the emotion makes sense. We do emotion in order that then the logic comes with it and it all falls into place and makes sense. Okay? Now, when we've experienced childhood developmental trauma, we come out of it with core beliefs of I'm worthless, I'm to blame. If you are somebody who says sorry all the time, stick your hand up. I had a chronic case of saying I'm sorry all the time until I understood that it came from this place of I'm worthless. And it's not something I believed as an adult. This is the catch-22. It's not adult us that believes I'm worthless. It was built into us from childhood. But we can, remember, complex PTSD, it's all experiential, the recovery. Talk therapy isn't something that is the best for us, okay? We need strategies, individualised strategies for our day-to-day life, and we need to have and create new experiences in our day-to-day life. This helps reprogram our brain, all right? Create new neural pathways so we're not going back over the same stuff. Now, anyhow, back to this subtle trigger. I realised that every time I wanted to step out and do something new, so my goal lately has been to put together a complex PTSD meditation group, right? Now, I've done meditation groups for years successfully. I know how to write up the web page, put the charge on. I know how to set up the Facebook page, do eCam. I have everything. I am equipped to do everything. But because it's something new, there's this subtle trigger that goes off in on my brain, and it doesn't trigger an anxiety attack. What it does is shut me down. It makes me have thoughts of everything that might go wrong or is out of my control, and those thoughts take over, and they're so subtle. It's not like they're, mega stressed anxiety thoughts. They're very, very subtle. This is why we have to go into the deeper stuff and recognize them. And I want to share this with you because as I share it, you're going to be able to recognize it in you, and then you're going to, yeah, nah, no more. We're not doing this anymore. I want my life back. I think I've been saying I want my life back for a long time now, and it has progressively come back more and more. So, and then the other things. I should be ashamed of myself. Childhood sexual abuse especially comes with this, okay, the shame, because it's like an infection in our spirit, okay, our I am, because the person who sexually abuses us actually sets themselves up as God in our life. Now, again, that's I've done a couple of videos on sexual abuse to explain that deeper. So, and then what happens from that is we come to a belief, again, unknowingly, that we have no power. And this is so potent, this I have no power, that it strips away from us our ability to recognise when we've slipped back into learned helplessness. And it's hard. Okay, it's hard to be an adult and say, oh man, I'm operating out of learned helplessness instead of operating out of my power and my adultness and my ability to stand up and say, damn it, I want to be able to do this. It's a whole different scenario, and one that we fight for. We fight to have our lives back, to have a fulfilling life and be happy and joy. So, and these are built into our neurology and our biology through no fault of our own. We can't blame ourselves, but what we can do is stand up and say, I'm an adult and I'm responsible for my direction and where I'm going and what I want to achieve, okay? And we can overcome it. So what are some of the things when we recognise that we've had this subtle trigger go off and we're focusing more on what I can't do rather than what I can do? So we want to do soul meditation, and when we do that, it involves reconnecting with our power. That's the core essence of it through a couple of different dynamics. Movement I remember I did the video on getting out in the grass in bare feet and sniffing the Vicks because there's touch involved, there's smell involved, there's sight involved. And when we engage more senses, it helps us get back into the logic, to the prefrontal cortex. We calm down. Our brain goes, okay, I'm safe. It's almost like I'm safe to think, okay? I'm safe to make logic out of what's happening for me. Identify when our brain is looping, when it's just going round and round and round on the same back channel, same back station, just saying over and the same stuff over and over again, and pull yourself up and go, yeah, no, that's not happening for me. Yeah, and overcoming our fear and anxiety when our thoughts and emotions are focused on what we can't do. It's hard as an adult to want to admit, I'm afraid. I know I'm okay now, but in the beginning, if someone had said to me, geez, you're carrying around a lot of fear, I would have looked at them like, seriously? Because we become so strong in modifying our life to suit our circumstances rather than aiming to sit in our power, because we don't know that in that modification, there's no room for fear. There's no room to acknowledge our fear, okay? All right, I just want to leave that with you today. If you have any further questions, please feel welcome to message me, to comment down below, whatever it takes, whatever you need. Because the greater language that we have, the greater awareness that we have, the more that we can recognize even these subtle triggers that go off, the more quickly we can become free to live our lives fully and engage in our lives with a great sense of joy. I was reading, I can't remember which book the other day. It might have been an article actually, and it was explaining how our recovery journey through CPtsd can take a significant amount of time. It's not something that we can go to therapy for a year and then, oh, I'm okay. It's a significant length of time, and that makes sense to me. The first time I read a book, the first time I started to address the deeper issues was with sexual abuse. And when I read The Courage to Heal, it said, oh, you know, it could take you up to 5 years to heal. And I sat there and went, no worries, I got this. And then I wondered why it took longer, all right? Because back when that book was written, complex PTSD wasn't even mentioned, for starters. We didn't know it. And even now, we're just getting the language out there and around what it really means. So it can take a significant amount of time. However, in that significant amount of time, when we're working and building our awareness, we are building our new life as well. So it will never have to go back to being the same. We never have to choose relationships, friendships, anything that is toxic in our life anymore. All right? Have a gorgeous Monday. It's not even sunny Brisbane today. It's overcast Brisbane. And it's been a joy to share this time with you. Have a great week. Set some goals for this week. And remember, it's not whether we achieve the goals. It's more about whether we can identify what stops us from getting to the goal, in order that we can put in place an equipping, an education and an awareness to overcome in our next week. All right, blessings and dreams, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.